Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, my friends, to ArcheTAP, where this week we are going over the Hermit. Right now we're going through the Major Arcana of the Tarot, and we're going to do a little talk, little tap, and then we'll meditate and really actually talk to this archetype and kind of see where there isn't some room for shining some light on some things, improvement. I don't really like the way that came out, but I started researching this one last week. I thought we were going to do it last Thursday, and I've been thinking about a couple things that I've discovered ever since then. So it's been the most fun I've had in doing research for one of these classes, because when you have like a light bulb connection thing and it just blows your mind and you're like, how the fuck did I not get that? So maybe you'll have that same mind-blowing moment today too. But just to remind ourselves, an archetype is defined as a compressed idea containing many dimensions of meaning, imagery, and feeling. Archetypes resonate with deep universal themes in the unconscious of all human beings, regardless of their race, genetics, conditioning. And when you continuously contemplate and identify with a particular archetype, it has the potential to transform your state of consciousness from a lower frequency to a higher frequency. So anytime we're in a more powerful state of consciousness, it has benefit on everybody in the whole wide world. So, okay, so the Hermit is number 9. So if you're born in September, this is your inner essence. And if you have a life path 9, then this is your kind of conditioned ego. It might be how you really saw yourself for the first half of your life. But it might be when we talk about this later on in the shadowier aspects, that might be what stands out to you. In mystery schools, this archetype was the archetype of Adonis. I'll tie this in, but the story of Adonis goes something like he fell in love with Aphrodite, right? I'm pretty sure he fell in love with Aphrodite. Could be wrong. And then he ends up dying, and he goes to the underworld, and the queen of the underworld decides to save him, but sort of as his penance, he has to spend 6 months of the year in the underworld, and 6 months of the year he's allowed to go be with Aphrodite where he wants to be. And so it speaks to this karma that he has to burn off. And so we'll get into karma a little bit later, because that was the mind-blowing moment for me. I was like, what does the Hermit have to do with karma? I don't get it. I don't get how this is making a connection, but it's found in the astrological sign of Virgo. This is the archetype of karmic deliverance. It focuses directly on the law of cause and effect. Another angle to this archetype is the archetype that questions all things and then finds his own path. Then in John Randolph Price's work, who I've really come to love, this is the Hermit is the angel of discernment. So we'll just use discernment as the jumping off point of positive keywords that might be found in this archetype. He's very discerning. He loves solitude. We think about solitude when we see this figure. He's very reserved. He's very prudent. He's got a meditative style. He's willing to be alone with himself. He's very comfortable being alone with himself. And then quiet moments. Sometimes we're okay. I would love to admit that I'm okay being alone with myself, and I actually tend to shout that from the rooftops, but I also tend to distract myself constantly while I'm alone with me. So I'm not sure that I'm actually so comfortable as much as I would like to think that I am, you know. So some negative keywords associated with him. He can be discouraged. He can be very antisocial, really indecisive and isolated, overly cautious because they're fearful. Disconnected from the physical body was another. This hermit energy has so much air in it. It's so mental. Everything about this person that's being portrayed is about a seeker of truth in some way, some kind of spiritual aspect. He's a pilgrim in some path to enlightenment in the like most just traditional archetypal way, which is why we describe archetypes. So he's portrayed in almost all cards as an old man. So the universal weight, he for sure is, you see this old man holding a lantern in one hand and a staff in the other. He's got a snowy mountain range behind him. He's got a cloak on. In this card, it's super similar, but does that one show it better or this one? I don't know. In this one, in his staff down at the bottom, he's got a snake wrapped around. And then not only does he have a lantern in this hand, he also has a key, which you can just barely see there. He's got a raven on his shoulder. He's also wearing the cloak. It's also male. In some of the research that I did for this, the tarot has been around for quite a long time. So there's a really good chance that this was actually a woman before it was turned into a male perspective. The archetype of the crone has been around forever, and most likely this was crone energy that then got put into the patriarchy. Crone definitely denotes a certain time of life, like the end of life and reflection, whereas this archetype, maybe you could become a hermit at any time in your life for a period, so that you can go inward, become discerning, figure out what you want to do, and then go out into the world or whatever. Whereas the crone definitely does. But I wanted to mention that because it doesn't necessarily have to be male. So his lantern, the raven, the lantern, the star, the snake, the key, all of that are really just differentiations on wisdom that he is holding. The cloak is definitely a way that he can hide who he is. The walking stick gives an air of authority. He's our guide. And I love that he holds his lantern up quite high, which definitely gives you the idea that he has something to share with other people. So this isn't just a hermit that becomes an ascetic, goes, the yogi that lives in the cave or whatever, and doesn't ever talk to anybody, he just meditates all the time. The hermit goes back into society and talks about what he's learned. He wants to understand the workings of the world in all of their aspects. So whether that's esoteric, whether that's scientific, intellectual, spiritual, he wants to understand everything. And he can get really stuck in his mind and disconnected from his physical body. From a subconscious perspective, if this gets too tangled up, he can begin to attack his own vitality and attack his own joy, just kind of in patterns of self-destruction. In his positive aspects, he's this really wise teacher who needs time alone to focus so that then he can rejoin the community to share what he's discovered. He doesn't just sit and dole out wisdom. He inspires it through the telling of his own life stories, the meanings that he's made from the things that have happened to him. So what he learns through his life really is how to be discerning. So we're back to this angel of discernment. He is, and even to bring in justice from last time, really what she's weighing is, does this give me energy or does this deplete me of energy? And we can talk about that from lots of different angles. We can talk about it from the scale of consciousness with Dr. Hawkins of like, are my thoughts up here or are they down here below 200? Is it giving me energy or is it am I trying to force my way through? Or Dr. Cohn's levels of consciousness, whatever his EMCS chart is called, whether you're on the right side or the left side, this is all about discerning, what conversations am I having? What situations am I putting myself in? What environments am I in? And do they give me energy, give me power, or are they draining me? And being really honest about those things. So as she's like helping you on this, now you coming to the hermit and he's saying, this is how you discern. So his light is sort of inviting you. It's inviting you to look at your own secrets. It's the things that you don't want to admit, or maybe they're family secrets that you don't want to admit. But he's definitely inviting you on his pilgrimage with him, bringing you deeper into a journey. He's inviting you to express the wisdom within you and to awaken to your true joy. He's asking you to have confidence in speaking your truth. He's asking you to have confidence in speaking about your perspective, your philosophy, at the risk of inspiring others. Because you understand that you've gained value through your experiences and it's time to share them. So this probably looks like an opening and closing in your life several times, if you're looking at your life on a timeline, you might have hermity stages, but it's really not a place that we want to just hang out and live forever. He doesn't really believe in dogmas or social codes. He's really a free spirit, loves individualism, and he wants you to find your own path. He's just kind of helping shine light on the way. He really enjoys nature, which shows up in both cards too, with the mountain range, or in the bottom of this one, there's some trees down here that are very hard to see. And, but nature brings him peace and calm. So this could be a tool potentially to keep in your back pocket when you're thinking about how this archetype, shows up in your life. And if you're needing some peace and calm to maybe get grounded in nature. So in his negative aspects, he's the classic hermit, right? He just wants to be left alone. He feels and he acts like he is a stranger in this world. He can be so afraid of showing himself, so afraid of being stuck in fear of failure, fear of rejection. But he was never really supposed to work alone for any length of time. It's his job to isolate for a bit, study, integrate, and then he has to go back out into the world and share what he's found. And if he's missing that part of the circuitry, he can go into these like discouraged, isolated, overly cautious, not trusting himself, into these types of keywords. And he's always going to feel like something is missing. He might need to learn better communication skills. He might need to open up his social life and experiment a little bit. The shadow hermit is asking you to go on a pilgrimage too, to discover yourself, to go deeper into your own spiritual quest. And he's asking you to seek depth and wisdom. You've got accumulated life experiences, so you've got knowledge with which to study. So he's definitely recommending solitude and nature to strip away distractions, face your fears. He wants you to face yourself and go deeper into the meaning of your own life. He's basically saying it's time to wise up, take responsibility for your own growth and awareness, your own level of consciousness. Take responsibility for your own depth. And it definitely could be a sign, if you know yourself to be in your head all the time, that you shake up your physical world, that you get out of your head and into your body. It also doesn't necessarily mean your physical body. It could be your physical world outside of you too, that things might need to get shaken up a little bit. Okay, so I want to talk just a little bit more about this angel of discernment and the law of cause and effect, because the law of cause and effect is karma. I had this really big realization as I was reading this article, as I was studying for this class, that it just hit me like a ton of bricks, that like the law of creation or the laws of manifestation or anything like that is karma. And for me, that was like, so I was like, right, if I'm like trying to raise my frequency and keep it high so that I can receive the things that I, that are on that wavelength, then my part of the karma is to keep practice that frequency as often as I possibly can, and to try to hold that vibration by thinking thoughts that are in alignment with whatever it is that I'm trying to create. And so I don't know why, to me, it was sort of a duh moment too, but I had never thought about karma and manifestation as the same thing, but they really are the exact same principles. So what you give out, you get back. I mean, it's really, in every single moment, we have a choice to look at our beliefs and the world around us and begin to clean it up. Our thoughts and our words and our actions affect our quote unquote compensations that we're getting. So it's really going to be helpful if we check in with our belief systems. This means we're comparing what we say we believe with what we actually believe. The truth is, we really don't know what we believe until we take a look at our outer reality. So we might say that we believe in unconditional love. We might say that we believe in harmony, goodwill, but perhaps when we look around us, we see a lot of conflict and a lot of hostile world and a lot of competitive energies. And it's that part, the part that sees quote unquote reality, real life, that is letting us know what's being pressed on in the karmic plates, what's gaining momentum that could have an effect. And none of this is morality. None of this is like you're good or bad. And that's sort of hard to connect to at first, I think, also. Because really this is a long list of things that fall into duality. If there's a light, there's a dark, there's a whatever, but the whole thing is consciousness. So there can't be a good or a bad in the capital T truth. So we're figuring out what's pressing on our own karmic plates, which is going to, so if we're looking around of like, how is personal conflict showing up in our lives? Where are we in bondage to certain thought patterns? What do we want to believe? And how do I apply those principles to every activity in my life? So this might be like joining the spiritual with the physical. It doesn't necessarily mean my physical body. It could be like the activities of my life. Do I believe more in wellness or illness? Which do I talk about more? Do I believe in abundance or scarcity? Which do I talk about more? Which do I see more up in the universe? You know, do I believe more in success or do I believe more in failure? What am I noticing out in the world more? And these are all just things to kind of really get us. What I've started doing, I have in my notes app in my phone, I've got a list of limiting beliefs now. And throughout the day, as I come across them, and it's about 100 a day, it feels like, I recognize how often my shitty thoughts are shaping everything about what I'm doing. And just getting better and better at sitting with the feeling that those thoughts produce and letting it just kind of run its course and then being like, oh, okay, that felt like shit. So maybe I'll try to think about it differently, trying to ask the universe for ways to think about things differently. It takes discipline and it takes dedication to learn the art of discernment. It's can be exhausting at first because our mind is so conditioned to think the way that it thinks because we've been thinking that way for a really long time. And to really recognize that what we believe is we're bringing the fruit of that, you know, it's not a moral thing, but we want to work with the law of cause and effect and not against it, you know? So we've got to be constantly aware of our thoughts, of our words, of our actions. I think one of the biggest lessons for me recently is recognizing how my secret thoughts are affecting everything around me. How I don't think that I've had a belief that they don't, like they're private, right? No one knows what I think, except for it's showing up out here, you know? And so if I've got judgments, um, yes, I'm saying don't choose violence, but maybe it just depends on, it just depends on what you want to get back, Reagan. But okay, so if I'm very honest, my inner world is often very competitive with the people around me. I am constantly thinking thoughts about whether what someone is saying is correct or true or how I could do it better. I am most often picking apart situations and environments and how I could do it better. And then I think, it's such a compulsion in me to really want to say something. It takes kind of all my self-control to not say things, and still my mouth will get me in trouble. But I had the belief that those private thoughts didn't actually like do any harm. And if they did, it was just to me. And I'm really realizing that is absolutely not true, that my private thoughts are really creating absolutely everything all the time. And if there was one thing that I needed to clean up more than anything, it's my little private thoughts with me, myself, and I all day long that are just shitty. They're just shitty thoughts. And so um, that's my big takeaway from this is that my hermit and the way that this shows up for me and how it shows up in my outer reality is something that I've really got to start cleaning up more and more because the more you're aware of it, the more painful it is too. God, it wreaks havoc on your relationships in your life. And then you're like, how is this pattern still happening? I thought because we think once we get the mental knowledge, right, that we'll have too much self-knowledge to make that mistake again. This is not true. I've yet to figure this out, but it's not true. So we're going to tap about it. Because that will get you back into alignment. For sure. But thinking won't, unfortunately, as much as I don't want to believe it. Okay. Check your posture. Sit up nice and tall. Take a big, deep, letting go breath. And repeat after me. Sometimes I am so afraid of rejection, so afraid of failure, that I probably look like a very classic hermit. I just want to be left alone. I feel like a stranger in this world. And I just know if they saw the real me, they wouldn't like it. So even though I've got some past hurts that make me want to isolate from this world, I choose to deeply and completely love and accept and forgive myself. Okay. So we've got a little bit of information loaded in our circuitry of how this kind of, being discouraged can cause us to isolate, not want to show our true colors or show up in our communities. Excuse me. Let's get started on the top of the head. This fear of rejection, this fear of failure, I really would like it if everyone would just leave me alone. My joy has dwindled. I've got a lot of doubts about my own inner wisdom. So what could I possibly share with the world? I'm not sure I've learned the lessons yet. I'm not quite perfect yet. So what is worth sharing? It can be easy to follow the crowd, making choices that culture deems best, versus following my own path, my own best interest. So today, I am inviting the hermit to remind me to follow my own path. I've isolated for too long. I am ready to bone up on my communication skills. Maybe I will open up my social calendar a little bit. I'm saying yes to the spiritual pilgrimage. I'm saying yes to questioning my belief systems. I choose to be discerning to discern who is energy giving in my life. I am learning how to discern which situations are powerful and which situations I'm forcing. And I'm discerning what environments breathe life into me. Going forward, I'm making choices that are the most beneficial to me. I'm ready to go deeper on this journey. I'm ready to trust my inner wisdom. I'm finding confidence, speaking my truth. I'm finding confidence, speaking my perspective. At the risk of inspiring others, I came to help others find their truth. I came to demonstrate sustainable principles. I'm going to continue seeking my whole life. And I'm excited to share what I learned. I am asking this angel of discernment to work with my intuition, to guide me to the right people and places, to take the right action, so that I'm becoming a master of karmic forces. And so it is. Okay. Goodness. All right, so we're gonna invite this hermit angel in. So do check in with your posture again. If you started to slouch, maybe find a different place. Sitting up nice and tall again. You want your head on your neck, your head over your shoulders over your hips. And lean back just enough that you feel the front of your abdominals engage so that you're balanced here. Close your eyes. Come to the bottom of your next exhale and pause. Then inhale through your nose for 4, 3, 2, 1, pausing at the top. Exhale through your nose for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold your exhale. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it at the top. Exhale for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it at the bottom. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Exhale for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Press any last remaining bits of air out of the bottom of your lungs. Big, deep belly breath in through the nose. Open your mouth and let it go. Big, deep belly breath in through the nose. Audible exhale. One more like that. Big breath in. Open your mouth and let it go. Seal your lips back off. Keep your eyelids heavy. Settle into a breath pace that is going to work for you. Feels comfortable. Every breath, you find yourself more relaxed. Every exhale lets go of a little bit more tension. Imagine that you are standing at the entrance to a very serene forest. You can feel a gentle breeze. The air is filled with the soothing sense of nature. You start to move into these woods. You noticed a forest path kind of opening up in front of you. Pay attention to how the light moves through the leaves. You can feel the soft earth beneath your feet. Every step that you take deeper in helps you attune to the noises of the forest. These calming sounds. As you're traveling through, you see a small clearing. As you enter this clearing, you notice another small path that's leading you to your sacred space. This sacred space is uniquely yours. It's your sanctuary. It's where you go when you're ready to hang out with yourself. Your sacred space becomes clearer and clearer in your view. Whether it's a cozy cottage or a garden or a mountaintop, it doesn't matter. Let yourself arrive there. As your energy comes into the space, notice some details about it. What are the sights, the sounds, the sensations? Allow yourself to feel completely at ease. You're so comfortable in this spot. It's time to find a comfortable seat. So maybe your favorite chair appears in front of you in this sacred space, or a cushion. You take a seat, take a few more breaths. Allow yourself to sink even deeper. So today you have this opportunity to meet and have a conversation with the hermit. Begin to invite this archetype into your sacred space. Visualize their presence. Maybe they look very traditionally like the hermit. Maybe they look completely different. But whoever shows up for you, invite them to have a seat. Ask them to help you answer the question, what can help me connect with my inner self better? And also ask the reverse, what is keeping me disconnected from my inner self? Sometimes asking it both ways is quite helpful. As you have this conversation, if there's any part of it that you want to remember better, you can write it down and then place that information in your left front pocket. So this archetype that's sitting across from you is all about a spiritual journey. So ask them, how can your spiritual life and your physical life intersect better? Ask the hermit how you can express your spiritual gifts in this physical life. This is kind of the key to this whole archetype, that our work in the world is in alignment with our spiritual blueprint. The hermit knows how to do this. So lastly, ask them, what wisdom pieces are missing? What wisdom do I need to be able to incorporate this into my daily life better? Ultimately, you're having a conversation with a mediator between the spiritual and physical worlds. He knows that without wisdom, we're doomed to fail. And the only way to access this wisdom is to go inside ourselves. So stay as long as you like. Write down any details that will be helpful. And I will see you next time for the Wheel of Fortune.